Meanwhile, the Biden administration does have one solution to your high gas prices. Just buy a $50,000 electric vehicle, duh. That was a message from Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg yesterday when he spoke at a White House press conference about climate change. Mayor Pete?
Clean transportation can bring significant cost savings for the American people as well. Last month, we announced a $5 billion investment to build out a nationwide electric vehicle charging network so that people from rural to suburban to urban communities can all benefit from the gas savings of driving an EV.
But they can't even make copies there. How can they charge things? Speaking of which, Vice President Kamala Harris, she was also there. And neither one of them made any mention of plans to reduce gas prices. So are they out of touch or out of their minds? Let's get into it with tonight's party panel. We've got New York Post columnist and contributor to the Spectator USA. It is Karol Markowicz, host of the Aggressive Progressive podcast. You love to sometimes not love him. Christopher Hahn is here. And 2020 Libertarian Party vice presidential candidate. Lord only knows what the future holds for this liberty lover. Spike Cohen is back by popular demand. Welcome, everyone. So, Karol, I will start with you. Thank you. People want to do the right thing. People want to live in a clean world, but they also want energy independence. We are focused an awful lot on the long game, trying to force that into a short game, but that is having disastrous consequences across the globe. What should we be doing right now? Should we all just steal, borrow, do whatever we can to get those $50,000 cars?
It's amazing how out of touch they are. I think 50 is like the starting price, too. We're going to have to really stop eating avocado toast if we want to all get electric cars like in the next 2 weeks. So I don't know. Plus, we're going to need Elon Musk to get us some electric, airplanes, some electric trucks, maybe some electric boats, because we're going to need all of that to be powered by electricity in the next, 5 days or so. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like a great plan to me, but at least it's a plan, right?
Yes. Let them eat Teslas. That's essentially what Marie Antoinette and the vice president are both saying here, Chris. They are out of touch because a lot of people, they have normal cars that still take gas. 10, 20 years, it's going to be a different story. Stop punishing people. Stop shaming them. Let's deal with what we have right now because the future is bright in terms of renewables, but come on, man.
So what are we saying? Thoughts and prayers on gas prices? The problem is,
that's what people like Stephen Colbert are saying, actually.
As long as we still need oil, Kennedy, we will be at the mercy of a volatile global market, which right now is not suffering from a supply problem, even with Russian oil cut off. What is happening is future markets are driving the cost of oil up artificially. And we are at its mercy. The way we get off is we have our own non-oil, non-international supply of energy, whether that be renewable, whether that be our own natural gas powering power plants, whether it be nuclear. As long as we're dependent on oil, we will be at the mercy of whatever's going on in the world, no matter how much oil we produce at home.
I agree.
That is a red herring argument.
Well, it's the problem is you're absolutely right. We have been dependent upon dictators and despots for way too long because people in your party are pushing this forced austerity, so we have to sacrifice everything in the name of clean energy, which isn't quite here yet. We are still dependent on oil.
We produce more than anybody else.
Then let us have it.
We produce more than anybody else.
Then give it to us.
It's at an international market. Texas oil costs the same as oil from the Middle East. It's a global market. We don't just sell it here at home.
What
we can do is we can close ourselves off to the rest of the world and see how that goes.
What has happened to leases on federal land where there are
9,000 leases right now that are not being used that could be producing oil right now if the oil and gas industry thought they needed to invest in it. But there is not a supply shortage. There is a problem with the market, which is spooked by the Russian action, and that's what happens with international markets.
Spike?
There is no supply problem with oil. None.
Spike. still spiking.
So he's actually he's at least partially right. Chris is at least partially right that we have a speculation problem that is driven by signals that are happening from people in power. One of those signals is the signal that when they're asked about gas prices, they're told go buy an electric car, which, by the way, my theory is that they're upset that they haven't been able to tweet about how high Elon Musk's profits are recently. So they're hoping if we all go and buy electric cars, that's something they can complain about. But the signals that are coming from government, not just in the U.S., but throughout the developed world, is we're going to rely on foreign dictatorships for our oil. And the problem with that is, yes, that is going to drive up the speculative market. Just the suppressive factor on the market that would come from saying we're ending the executive order on new leases would have quite an effect. Another one that would have quite an effect and would also deal with the climate change problem that apparently only exists if we drill it here and not in foreign dictatorships is to remove the regulations that make it overly burdensome and cost prohibitive to build new nuclear plants, letting them know that we're not going to rely on fossil fuels and use the safest, cleanest, most carbon neutral and currently only available truly renewable source of energy that we have right now.
Absolutely.
That is grid stable.
Nuclear and thorium. You introduced me to thorium, and boy, do I like
Thorium,
his hammer.
yes.
Woo! Yes, you are. I don't know. That is one of the things that could be in such abundance that could make the planet heal, and it could bring areas of the world that are in darkness to light. But we can't do that because of Helen Caldicott. All right, more mature discussion coming up in just a bit. The party panel's coming back.